lives that the Waco Police Department caused by arresting 177 people at the Twin Peaks in a fill-in-the-name affidavit. Chief Stroman also tried to discount the stories of the bikers who are now being released from custody, basically saying, well, what else would they say? This is what we expect them to say. He shouldn't be permitted to keep trying to sell that story, because that's not what happened out there. The first few weeks, or the first few days of the Twin Peaks shooting, we saw the collage of 177 mugshots. Whether these people were involved or innocent or what have you, the press kept showing 177 mugshots. But it's important to see the many innocent people, pictures of the many innocent people who were arrested that day, the real pictures, and hear stories of their lives. There's Matt Clendenin, who is my client. Matt's here to my left with his family. 30 years old, 2011 Baylor graduate with a degree in business and finance, former firefighter. That's Matt's picture up there, a picture of his family. And until this incident, he was a business owner. And Matt will tell you a little bit about what this has caused him and how it's ruined his life. There are some other attorneys who are going to talk about Darrell Walker. That's Darrell Walker. He was one of the innocent people arrested that day. He was Drill Sergeant of the Year in 2006, United States Army paratrooper, served 2 tours in Afghanistan and Gitmo, received 2 Bronze Stars for his tours in Afghanistan. Another one, Ronaldo Reyes, 10 years active duty in the United States Army, including 2 deployments to Iraq, where he was subjected IED blasts on duty in Iraq. Another one, Jorge Solis, decorated United States Marine, doing tours in Afghanistan. So these are the pictures the public needs to see, rather than the 177 people lumped together in a collage of orange jumpsuits. Let me introduce Matt. You've met him. I just introduced him. That's his wife, Cherie. His stepdaughter, Rebecca. Son, Colton. That's his mom, Sue. That's his dad, Dave. Matt also has 2 other children, Jeffrey and Kimmy, who are not here today. And one of the reasons they're not here is Matt shared full custody of those children with his ex-wife, who is now, because of this incident, because of the claims that the Waco Police Department had made against Matt, went back to court to try to get full custody of those 2 children. So that's another way Matt has been hurt in all of this. I gave you all a packet, and I want to talk about what's in the packet. Most of them have probably what you all have seen. But one of the most important things in the packet is this polygraph report from a polygraph, a well-respected polygrapher, and Mr. Holden, Rick Holden in Dallas, who asked Matt the key questions. Did you participate in the violence? Did you go there anticipating violence? Did you encourage violence? And Matt answered no to all of those questions. And Mr. Holden, based on his own examination as well as accepted standards from universities and the grade polygraphers, determined that Matt was telling the truth. Mr. Holden told me, based on standards adopted by Johns Hopkins University, there's only less than a 1% chance that Matt answered these questions falsely when he answered no to all these questions. You also have in your packets an amended civil complaint. We have filed a lawsuit against Manuel Chavez, who filed the fill-in-the-name complaint without any regard as to whether there was individual probable cause to name some of these innocent individuals. Abelino Reyna, the DA, who went on KWTX television and talked about the fact that because he was keeping these people in jail because they were not cooperating in his mind, although Matt will tell you exactly what went on that day, and that he gave a full statement to the police that day. The city of Waco and McLennan County. And I got a couple of inquiries. We sent out the first press release, and I called it Clendenin County. And that was not an intended joke that Mr. Clendenin is going to own McLennan County, but it was a typo in my press release. But McLennan County, and based on the press conference given by Chief Stroman on Friday, we will be adding his name to the complaint. It is obvious from his statements that the Waco police, and he leads the Waco police, are not properly trained to determine what probable cause is. The fact that he is still unapologetic for what happened gives some indication that the policymakers in the city of Waco have a long way to go in training their police officers properly. There is a judicial complaint I filed myself against Justice of the Peace Pete Peterson, who signed the $1 million bonds, and he said he signed them to send a message. That's a quote he gave to the Waco Tribune and a quote he gave to the LA Times. And Judge Snipes will talk in a minute about how one goes about properly setting bonds. There was a request we made on Friday that's included in your packet to the Department of Justice to determine whether civil rights violations occurred in this case. I suggest they were and are ongoing, since many of the people still remain in jail. And then one of my favorite things actually is I keep getting letters and emails from all around the country. I got just Saturday a letter from a 78-year-old woman in Dallas who talked about how she shook President Truman's hand many years ago, and how she's always been an adamant supporter of law enforcement, but she can't abide by what is happening in this case. I got a Facebook instant message from a woman who was totally unrelated, had nothing to do with motorcycles, was at Twin Peaks that day with her husband. She was detained that day. They took her phone, they took her purse, which contained her keys and her credit cards. She had to go, when they finally released her, she had to crawl through the window of her house in order to get in the house, and has had to hire an attorney just to get her credit cards and keys back from the Waco Police Department. So this has affected a whole bunch of people. When I'm done in a minute, Judge Michael Snipes will talk. Mike is a West Point graduate. He's a retired Army colonel. He was an assistant United States attorney for the Northern District of Texas for approximately 8 years. He was a assistant United States attorney for almost a decade. He was a state district judge for 8 years. Was presiding over the Kaufman County murder cases where the DAs were involved. And he joined our firm in January. And I asked Mike to talk because of his law enforcement background, his prosecutorial background, his judicial background, that we often disagree on various issues about criminal justice. But I think this is one instance in particular where we come with one mind. With that said, I'm going to the plan is to let Mike talk to you. Then Matt will talk to you a little bit. He'll tell you how he got involved in motorcycling, the charity work the motorcycle club does, what happened at Twin Peaks that day, and the effect it's had on his life. We'll be available to answer any questions, and then the lawyers, for some of these, the three gentlemen I talked to, they're going to talk to you about their particular client. So I'll turn it over to Mike, and then, as I said, Matt will talk a little bit and answer some questions.